All right. Hey, what's going on? This is Eileen Nicole. Thank you for joining me this evening. I am a woman empowerment coach, woman empowerment life coach, and I help Black women overcome toxic relationships. So, tonight we're going to be talking about tonight's subject. We are going to be talking about um, how to spot a man who is on the down low because there's so many of them. There's so many of them, and you have to watch out for the obvious signs and the not so obvious signs. So we're going to go over what that is. And so let's see here. Let's share our screen here. All right. So we are going to. All right. So um, my name again is Eileen Nicole. I'm a Christian minister and a woman empowerment life coach. I help Black women overcome toxic relationships and curate self love and discipline um, through one-on-one coaching. And you too can get one-on-one coaching. All right. So if you need to rebuild or heal a failing relationship, I'm your gal. You can definitely hit me up via email at eileen@eileennicole.com. There's a 15-minute consultation. It's free. And then after that, we can move forward from there. All right, so let's get into today's topic. So this is a touchy subject in the Black community. So I just wanted to say, I just wanted to give out throughout a disclaimer, a couple of disclaimers actually. So homosexuals are indeed people just like everyone else, and that has a different sexual preference. So I don't want to discriminate or wish harm to them, and I don't want there to be any confusion about their humanity. That is not the purpose of this. The purpose is to make sure that you are keeping boundaries up, especially if you have them, um, the strict boundaries. So you want to identify what those triggers may be that's going to trying to that's going to try to cross your boundary, and you need to make sure that you keep those boundaries up. Not walls. Walls are different from boundaries, but we'll talk about that on another day. So, ladies, don't let this cause problems in your personal relationships that you may have built over time. If you find that your companion is being deceptive in this manner, in particular, I want you to disengage and detach from the situation when it is safe for you to do so. It is that, and if that's something that you want to do. Sometimes women still want to stay in these types of relationships, so there's that. So Black femicide. So let's talk about that. Black femicide is something that, oops, Black femicide is something that is very, it's running rampant in the Black community. So it's on the rise, and I believe that it has a lot to do with this type of deception. Finding deceptions usually lie just below the surface of the truth. So in other words, the lie will be a thin veil, and you only need to pull it back just a little bit to start to see what the lie is. If you don't see it immediately, don't agitate the situation. Wait for further, stronger confirmation and then follow your safety plan. So, I'm not providing any healthcare, medical, or nutritional therapy services or attempting to diagnose any mental or physical issues, but rather making social and behavioral observations and giving my perspective on this. And this is not a substitute for professional services or care. So please use discernment when making drastic changes. Pray about the matter, and then follow the instructions Jesus is showing you. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so here's some stats. Okay, so according to the Black Census from June of 2019, 76% of the Black community identified as heterosexual. 3% identified as lesbian, 3% identified as gay, 7% identified as bisexual, 4% identified as an other sexual orientation, and 4%, I think it was 6% gave no answer. All right, so these are the percentages. So you see right here, majority of the Black community is saying that we're more majority by and large, a large majority of us are heterosexual. Okay, so what is the down low? The down low, or the low, means a man who identifies as a heterosexual but actually seeks sexual encounters and side relationships or situationships. They avoid sharing this information with sexual partners, even if they are married. Even if they're married. So, things to look out for. They have extreme homophobia. They tend to spend a lot of time with male friends. They're always on their phone, talking, texting, possibly in somebody's DMs. And I'm not talking about business calls, because that's a different type of call, and it's a different type of relationship that men have when they're in business together, or they're trying to see if they want to do business together, or if it's just a healthy male to male relationship to where they're not being deceitful. It's not some, undercover situation. They're not lying to you. They are able to just kind of be regular. You can tell the energy. They have a decreased sexual appetite. Now, these are some of the things that you want to look for. The homophobia, though, that one, it seems to be off the chart. It's like really almost aggressive with the homophobic, but um, also it could also be where it's just the opposite, where you'll see, because I've had a situation before where um, this guy was supposed to be heterosexual. He told me he was heterosexual, but when another gay man came around, he was very, very friendly and all up in his face. I was like, oh, that's what's going on, and this person never admitted it to me, never said anything, but it was so interesting. The interesting part is that we had this conversation about gay marriage, and um, this person got literally started to blow up and get red about uh, people who don't agree with gay marriage and people who don't agree with the lifestyle. I mean, like he was just like, I mean, he was livid. I was like, oh, uh, well, let's not talk about this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you to be aggressive. I don't want this to be your response when we're talking about something. And luckily, it was over the phone. Like, he was over there and I was over here, but he was over emotional about this particular topic. But again, he said he was heterosexual, but I just feel like he wasn't. Okay, that's how I feel. And so you'll see this, either they are extremely aggressive and mean and just trying to take the warmth out of just having a natural relationship with another human being. Like, hey, what's going on with you? Even if, when women meet other women that are lesbians, it's not like we're like, oh my gosh, like, so what? You know what I mean? You can tell it's the extreme. It's either they're extremely cold or extremely warm, and that's a telltale sign. Definitely need to check out. Check that. Check that. All right. So um, the next one here is um, oops. So the next one is that they considered themselves heterosexual, but again, they will say, yeah, am not gay or I'm not bisexual either. A lot of this is because they like the opportunities that heterosexuals get. Um, because when you're considered gay, usually women don't really engage or think that you're interested in men because you're gay. Most gay men don't like women. So that's kind of like normal to think that, okay, this gay person is not interested in me sexually. But heterosexual men will say that they're heterosexual even though they're not. And the reason why a lot of the studies are saying that the reason why they don't consider themselves homosexual is because they don't engage in it as much as gay men do. And also, it's kind of like a one off situation, or it might just be when they go out of town, or it might just be just a random encounter, maybe once a quarter. They don't want it to be, they don't want to be, um, they don't want to identify as heterosexual because they don't engage in it regularly, or they don't engage in it as much as they do heterosexual activity. But also remember with the whole Jeffree Star situation, remember his both of his boyfriends said that they were heterosexual, even though um, I don't know if Jeffree Star identifies as a trans woman. I'm not sure, but they don't identify as gay. But I don't know. I'm not sure if he identifies as trans. Um, but I do know. You see, yeah, it says no, he identifies as male and identifies as a gay man, but he likes the androgyny look and likes makeup. Okay, so he doesn't actually identify as a trans. He identifies as a man, but I thought that was the case. I thought that was the case. So basically, these men were with this gay man. He identifies as gay. So they were with him, but they considered themselves heterosexual. You see that there? You see that? And so if you were to ask him, like let's say you got with these dudes and you didn't know about his past, because you're not most men don't carry on public relationships with that are in this particular category with men if they're categorizing themselves as heterosexual. Usually that's not the public norm. Usually they hide it. But basically, if you were to see this man and you were to ask him, hey, are you gay? He would say no. And he would say, and now you could say, have you ever been with a man or have you had any male to male sexual contact? You can ask him that and he might say yes. But again, he might say, well, this was my only relationship, with a man. So I'm not gay and I don't identify as gay. But again, so the verbiage is that I'm not, um, I'm not homosexual. That's the verbiage that they're going with, right? Um, so other ways that we can look at and identify them. So let's look here. Narcissistic behavior. So traits of a narcissist, the sense of self-importance, preoccupation, with power, beauty, or success, entitled. They can only be around people who are important or special, interpersonally exploitive for their own gain, arrogant, lack empathy, and they must be admired. They're controlled by an evil spirit. This is the part where they the lust for power comes from. So it's just them in the relationship technically, and you're their fan. A lot of that is the Jezebel spirit, because remember in the Bible, Jezebel was the star of that kingdom. I mean, she had I believe it's Naaman. or she had her guy, but nobody really consulted with him. It was really her that had all the all the information and was getting all the stuff. All right, and so another thing to look out for is if they only are interested in oral sex. So this is another one. So for instance, they're really not interested in heterosexual sex. They're not. They're interested in sex, but they're really only interested in just their part of it, or their pleasure part of it. Um, they don't really want to reciprocate that back because you're the fan and they're the star. So it goes into the toxicity, but it also can go with the men on the down low. And this isn't the same across the board, across the gay spectrum. This is really with the people who want to control you. And the best way they know how to control you is to deceive you and to lie to you. This is under the same umbrella of deceit and lies. So if they're going to lie to you, they're going to tell you they're the star and you're the fan. Basically, they're Michael and you Tito. And also, they don't want you to be involved in any other relationship. So the narcissist will kind of sort of basically make sure that they take it down to where you have as less of real personal relationships as possible. And it doesn't have to be romantic relationships, just any type of relationship, because they want to control everything. All right, and so the next one is that they have erectile dysfunction. So because he has proclivities that are non-heterosexual, this is why he probably won't be able to perform with a woman because, um, yeah, this is a problem because he's not actually turned on by women. He's only there because, well, you have some other value to you. And it's either because you're the cover. Usually, a lot of men like to do this. They like to have a beautiful woman or a pretty woman or an important woman on their arm so that it gives them more clout or stature, or it gives them more attention. It funnels in what they need. Where that could be money, that could be attention, that could be opportunities, that could be men, that could just be anything. Usually, that's how they do it. They know that the world loves beautiful women, so why not? And usually these people have the gift of gab. They know how to talk to people, they know how to get women, they know how to get men, they know how to get opportunities. And the best thing for them is to get a woman, because in the business world, people like to see heterosexual couples to move up the capitalist ladder, if you will. All right, so let's go over to the next things to look out for in men are who are on the down low. So they take your energy, but they don't reciprocate it. So they're basically energy vampires. Excuse me. So they'll use you for everything. They'll use you, but if you ask them one time for anything, it's a problem. You usually have to ask them multiple times to try to get what it is that you want. But if they ask you, it's done like that. And that's part of the narcissistic um, entity demon that is ruling this particular person. They like the power that this demonic force gives them, because it is intimidating to people who don't know Christ. It's intimidating to people who don't understand what it is that they're talking to, who they're talking to, or what type of energy this is. So that's where the discernment comes in. They have overly feminine gestures. That's another thing. You can tell because they're very loose with their gestures. They're not disciplined or poised like men are. Men are usually poised, they're positioned, even when they're relaxed, they're still very assertive. Um, um, but with down low men, they're very feminine. Femininity allows us in this patriarchal society. It's supposed to allow us to just relax and be a bit more relaxed than the assertive man. Um, but some men take on that moniker. Some men take on that essence. They tend to be they tend to want to be um, more feminine, more effeminate. All right, so they cheat with other men. Now, this is the thing. They will stay up stay up at night, stay up whenever they can, or again, they're always on the phone. They're always in somebody's DMs. They're always hooking up. It's a hookup culture for them. And the thrill of it is that you don't know what you don't know. They're doing all this, because I seen a story the other day where the woman did not know that this person had a second. The man told her, the man was married to this woman. The man was married to the woman, and he told her that he had a second job. He told her that he was in IT and that he was a flight attendant, right? Only one of those was true. So he eventually goes to, so his cousin was in on this fly with him. So he basically is living a double life, and he's not actually a flight attendant. When he's supposed to be out doing his flight attendant work, he's out seeing this other woman. And this other woman um, knows uh, that he's married, but um, he has two Instagrams, one with his wife and one with this other girl. And I'm like, whoa, like this is crazy. Now this is one with two women, but it doesn't matter if this is with a woman or a man. He's living a double life, period. But usually they will find a way to live that double life, and they'll cheat with you on other men nonstop. So the next one, so what this all comes to is how dangerous it is. Now that we've identified different ways that they will show themselves, we can look at the dangers this is to women. So a soul tie is created. The trust that you have in having a companion is broken, not just with this one, because this is going to follow you for the rest of your life, this particular incident that happened. So your trust is going to be broken. Love and self-love is at risk of failure. And what I mean is you falling in love again is at risk of failure if you allow it to go on for too long, or if you find out and you continue to let it happen. It's going to destroy your self-esteem. It's going to destroy your character. You're going to think that you're not good enough and all of these things. But you have to create those boundaries, and you have to make sure that this isn't something that you're gonna keep letting happen, because this is abuse. um, I don't think that I get something out of this and you get something out of this is a good idea, because you're really going to get the short end of the stick. Usually normal people don't get married to get a divorce. Normal people don't. Now you have your one-off situations, but normally people don't. But more times than not, you have people who have not done the work on themselves getting into marriages because they don't want to be alone. They want to have children. They want to start building families. They want to do all these things, but they're putting the cart before the horse. And so this is why the divorce rate is so high. I don't think it's because people want to get married to get divorced. I think this is because they don't know the proper boundaries and they don't know who they are. So if you are a person that's still out here doing the most, then when you decide to marry a woman and let's say that she's already at a particular point in her life where she knows what she wants, but you are at a point in your life where you know you still want to play around out here, you still want to play the field, you still want to be out in these streets. You guys don't have the same goals. And so 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you guys are getting a divorce because those are huge differences in goals. um, no, that's not marriage. That's not suitable for marriage. So another thing is an unauthorized tryst. And a tryst is just like a relationship between three people. If it's unauthorized, meaning you didn't even know about it. You had nothing to do with it, and this person is just carrying on this long-term relationship with another person. That's abuse as well, because now you have to think about this HIV, and you got to think about it leading to AIDS. You also have to think about STDs or STIs. That's disgusting. To have your husband bring you back something like that, it's unnatural. You shouldn't have to deal with that, especially if you're not thinking about that. Do you know how many women say, um, I'm not going to get anything, I'm married? Fam, that's not, you can't think like that. And not, you can't think that he's going to be out there cheating, but you can't say stuff like, you can't put stuff like that out in the air. You just have to be diligent about what you're doing. And you really do need to stay on top of what your part of your side of the deal is in terms of your relationship, because the last thing you want to do is put out there that this will never happen to you. That that's not real life. It could happen to you. It could happen. And I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't. But your focus should be on making sure that you have everything that you need in here through Christ, and also that your husband is moving along together with you, because that's how you grow apart. But yeah, I'm just like, don't say stuff like that, fam. That's not a good look to say that. It leads to poor mental health, which can lead to verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, and even death. Black femicide is a big deal right now. And the reason why it's a big deal is because people are lying to themselves about what they want to do with their lives. They're getting in relationships. Some of these men are getting into relationships with women. These women are getting pregnant, or these women are outing them, or these women are wanting to get married, or they are married. All these things are happening, and then when the man decides that this isn't the life that he actually wants because it's wearing down on him, then he kills the woman. It's been, you know um, it's story after story about black men killing black women all over social media, all over it. And not only do you have the deaths of black women all over social media, but you have so many men with this red pill rage going on, where they're talking about black women should be killed, that black women should be, um, that all black women should die. This is part of the down low culture, because why would they want, okay, if all the black women die, then what's left for black men, right? Other men. And they don't mind that at all. But it's so sad because that's what's happening. They would rather be with each other. It's kind of weird. It's weird. It's just like, go over there and be with this man. Do that. Why do you have to bring black women into it, to where we're at risk of dying or getting something we can't get rid of because you have this disdain for black women? We haven't done anything to black men. Not on the scale of what they're doing all online. And I have a whole theory about that, which I'm going to come out with that later. But for right now, I think that it's part of this Jezebel spirit. It's part of the demonic spirit. It's also part of the narcissism. It's part of the selfishness, the quest for power. And it's like, you're not going to get any power by killing black women. You're just not going to do it. But in some of these these derelicts mind, they believe that that's what's going to happen. Here's some questions that you should ask yourself if you are in a relationship. So does he hug or touch his friends in a weird way when he hugs them? Does he watch gay porn? Does he ask you to use toys on him? Does he devote too much time at the salon grooming? Hmm? Always is he always in another man's face being extra friendly? Again, I told you I had a situation where this man, he was extra friendly. Everybody was looking like, what the hell is going on? So, does he act unusually happy or quiet when a good-looking guy passes by? I mean, just pay attention. Pay attention to what is happening in front of you. Does he get nervous about the down low conversation? Do other people suspect him of being gay? Like if your friend is like, uh who is that? Who is that? And where you meet him? Where did you meet him? I'm gonna need you to go ahead and put him back where you met him. Put him back. Put him back, fam. When y'all role play, does he want to be the woman? You be the Does he want to be the woman and you be does he do that? Like, because that's the thing. Because you know how they say, like, sometimes in interracial relationships, like sometimes they'll do like the man wants to do a slave role play where either he's the slave master and the woman is the slave, or I've heard it the other way around too, where he wants to be the slave. Like, what the hell? Like, they wanted to, like, like they switch it around. So, does he do that? Does he want to be the woman and you be the man? If so, he might be on the down low. Do he act hyper masculine? That's a really dead giveaway. Is he hyper masculine? Like, Andrew Tate is, in my opinion, is hyper masculine for no reason. I think that man, in my opinion, I think he's on the low. He's a down low one. I think that he is on another level of down low, though. I think he is on a whole nother level of down low. That man is he he gonna end up coming out at some point. At some point, I think he is just over the top with it. I don't think he likes women at all in any capacity other than to make money off of them. I don't think he likes women at all. I don't even think he like his mama. Like, it's just crazy. And that's just my opinion about it. That man is toxic. He's toxic city. Jeez. But yeah, so um and then also or is he chill? Now if he's chill, like that's a different thing. But if he like again, Andrew Tate is one of those hyper masculine men. Or extra effeminate, like Kevin Samuels, he's extra effeminate or hyper masculine. Those two they're polar opposites, but they're both down low men, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Anyway, so in conclusion, you ask these questions as you go in your relationship, and it may be something or it may not. These are things that need to add up and not just be used in judgment that can end up being in a vacuum or a one-off situation. So, like, hypermasculinity doesn't necessarily negate or denote down low that you're on the down low. But if you are hypermasculine and you are a narcissist and you hate women and you use women and I mean, you're just over sexual. Like, these are a whole bunch of different things that are adding up. Over sexualized, like come on, who you putting on the show for? And so any type of the abuse is not okay, and don't let someone gaslight you into thinking that their disrespectful behavior is not a big deal. When someone is following a plan of deceit on you, it's wrong. And you don't deserve that. And you should know the signs and warnings men do these things to women. I think that if not only we as women are not only aware, but we apply the proper safety plan to exit these toxic relationships as safely as possible, we can cut down on HIV, STDs or STIs, sexual oppression, and even Black femicide. None of these things are the fault of women. However, our trusting nature and willingness to build families in a healthy and happy environment is being used against us on a massive scale. The single mother rate in America as a whole is at a whopping 80%, and that's across all racial groups. So that's officially an part of American culture. Around 73% of the Black community that has children is in a single mother household. Now, let's consider this path. If you find a man and you think that he's the one, then you find out it's all a lie, and then you're left with one or all of these things. So dealing with STDs or STIs, the mental health decline, verbal, physical abuse, mental health decline, or worse, death. And if children have to witness any of it, it brings trauma to their little lives and can possibly destroy their future. Today we spoke about how to deal with men on the down low. But let's be clear, they aren't the only deceivers out there. The Word of God says in Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Dealing with deceivers requires discernment, so please use it wisely. And remember, the way that we're going to get out of these types of relationships, you first want to identify um, if all these things are adding up. And if they are, you need to come up with a safety plan. Don't just get out of the relationship because um, these men are killing Black women because of their decision to leave the relationship. So because of that, now I recommend that every Black woman that finds herself in these types of toxic relationships to have a safety plan. So you can reach out to me for prayer at eileen@eileennicole.com. You can email me at any time, and you can just let me know about your situation, and we can pray. We can pray about it together, especially if you are in a toxic relationship. I don't want you to think that you can't email somebody and have someone help you pray, because sometimes when you're in a high stress situation, it's difficult to understand what to do, and not just prayer, but to hear from God and to hear about how to move from there. Because again, you have to move wisely. You can't just move just to move. It's you do have to move wisely. So a safety plan is always the best thing. Prayer and then a safety plan. Um, I do want to offer you my coaching services. I help my clients overcome toxic relationships by identifying, nurturing, and building strong, loving, supportive relationships in their personal and professional lives. I also support clients to rebuild or heal a failed relationship or failing relationships. So to work with me, again, just email that same email, which is eileen@eileennicole.com, and add consultation in the subject line. Here are some emergency resources, because if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have an emergency plan, you don't have a safety plan, you don't have any way to, and you need to get out, you need to leave now or within the next day or 2 days, I would suggest that you contact one of these emergency services. And the first one is, we're going to go over the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. This one is the one in the US. But you text 988 anywhere in the US. You text that, and then and it'll put you on the line with somebody. The next one is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It's at 800-799-7233, or you can text START to 88788 and get assistance with domestic violence. And also sexual assault hotline. It's 1-800-656-4673, and then that is in the US. These men are not nothing to play with, especially if they're going to lie to you about something so serious as to getting into a relationship and building a life with somebody. If somebody's going to lie to you about something so dramatic, that's such a big deal. It will be nothing for them to do these things to you and not think anything of it, because they already want to ruin your life. So it's imperative, it's important that you don't stay in relationships like this, because it's never going to pan out for you. You're always going to have the short end of the stick. So you have to make sure that you identify these things and don't continue to linger on just because you want a man, or just because you want somebody, or just because you don't want to be lonely. You won't be here if that's your frame of mind. You can't just, that can't be it, because now you're worshiping a man just because of his company. No, it doesn't even, and it could be a very, very bad company. So make sure that you identify these triggers, identify those things, and make sure that they all add up. Um, there is my contact information. But thank you very much for joining me for this live tonight. I do appreciate it. And again, you can email me at any time. You enjoy the rest of your evening. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Love you guys. Bye.